Welcome to Shape Films. In this video, we will dive into the movie Captain America Civil War. We will discuss movie storylines and its ending. We will also talk about the movie cast and characters. Moreover, we will discuss movie reviews and its box office. So, here we go. Captain America Civil War. An empire toppled by its enemy can rise again, but one which crumbles from within, that's dead forever. Bernard Zemo to Captain America. Captain America Civil War is a 2016 superhero film based on the Marvel Comics superhero of the same name. The film is a sequel to Captain America, the first Avenger Captain America, The Winter Soldier's Avengers Age of Ultron, and Ant-Man is the 13th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the first installment of Phase 3. The film was released on April 27, 2016 internationally and on May 6, 2016 in the United States. The film is directed by Anthony Russo and Joe Russo and the stars Terry Seven as Steven Rogers, Captain America, Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark, Aaron Van, Sector Johnson, and the Natasha Roman of Black Widow. Substation stand by the Becky Barnes Winter Soldier, Anthony Mickey as Sam Wilson, Falcon Dan Cadless, and James Rodgers Ward Meshans, Jeremy Renner as Client Barton Hoyt, and Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa, Black Panther, Paul Bettany as the Vision, Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff, Paul Rudd F. Scott Long at Ant-Man and the Van Camp and Sharon Carter, and Tom Holland and the Peter Parker, Spider-Man Frank Grillo and the Black Rainbow's Crossbones with William Hurt as the Thaddeus Ross and the Daniel Burrell as the Helmet Zemo, Baron Zemo. The fourth film in the series, Captain America Brave New World, was released on February 14, 2025. Following Sam Wilson by the lead of character after the assumes the moniker of the Captain America in the Falcon and the Winter Soldiers. Synopsis. Marvel's Captain America Civil War finds Steven Rogers leading the newly formed team of Avengers in their continued effort to safeguard humanity. But after another incident involving the Avengers results in the collateral damage, political pressure mounts to install a system of accountability headed by a governor body to the overseas and track the team. The new status quo frequents and the Avengers, resulting in two camps, one led by the Stark Rogers and his desire for the Avengers to remain free to defend humanity without government interference, and the other following Tony Stark's supreme decision to support government oversight and the accountability. Plot. In 1991, Hydra operatives inside the Russian Armed Force travel to their Siberian facility and revive the Winter Soldier from a catatonic state. After using a set of the conditions triggered and the words to ensure the Winter Soldier's lowly Vasil Karpov orders him to interrupt and the automobile and execute its occupants. In the parents at Day, Captain America, Black Widow, Falcon, and the Wanda Maximoff learned the Brog Romlo plans to steal a biological chemical weapon from the Institute for the Infectious Disease in the Logos. Negria, as it's concerned, Romlo attempts to commit suicide with a bomb vest, trying to take the Rogers with him in an act of the revenge. Maximoff and contains the explosion but the lessers control of her powers and the inverters and the destroys a nearly building, killing several relief aid workers from the Wakanda. At MIT, Tony Stark demonstrates BARF, a piece of the technology aimed to create it and the relief and boundaries, and the follows with a speech where the introduces a grant being awarded to all students, giving them all the proper funding to move forward with their own inventions and ideas. Because leaving the stage, he is the shaken was the teleporters and makes the reference to the paper spot home he has broke with over his refusal to give up the bring iron outside. He is confronted by the Marion Sharp, whose son was killed in the battle with the Ultron in the Sokovia, who has story snacks and stocks, especially when she says the blame him and the Avengers for her son's death, not Ultron. 1 month after the incident in Logos in the headquarters and average and visited by the Starks and Thaddeus Ross waiting for them, Ross explains due to the events of New York, Washington D.C., Sokovia and the recent disaster Logos, the United Nations and decided that Avengers can no longer be allowed to operate the privately. Do that it has been decided that the Avenger will sign the Sokovia Accords to is approved by the 117 countries, which will establish an internationally panel to control the Avengers movement as well as monitor and police the rapidly growing number of the enhanced individuals. The team is divided over the act Star Sports government oversight because feels guilt of his role in the creating Ultron and the devastation Ultron caused. He also feels that Avengers need to take more responsibility for the consequences of their action, as he did the discover stars in streets and was secretly shipping weapons to the rings. However, Roger's worries that the Avenger may be compromised if the comes under the control of the Nephron's third party, such as the infiltration of SHELG by the Hydra. Rose states that the refusing to sign the accord will be seen as the act of resignation. Meanwhile, Retread Kaprov is accused by the Baron Zambo. He asks the information regarding in 1991 mission. Kaprov uses the forcing Zambo to kill him. During their debate and about the accords, Rogers learned the Paggy Carters and passed away in the sleep and the abruptly leaves for the funeral in the London. And while there was learned short Carton and was for greatness as the delivers about one should never back down from that belief in. This soldier's Rogers revolves not to sign the accordings. Wanda finds herself confused to the facility to vision and the ostensible for her safety. Nan's emotions are running after his what happened in the Logos. In Vania, where the signing of the accordings to take place are terrorism bombs killing the T-Chaka of the Wakanda. One security cameras reveals the suspect as Bucky Burner, the T-Chaka son. T'Challa was the ravage against the Rome of and advised Rogers and Vision accident to go to behind Rose back and bring in the Burners themselves. Falling a tip by the Carter and a grueling cast and Burner in the capture by the Rogers, Wilness and the T'Challa are arrested for the obstruction of justice. While Burner in the captivity in Berlin and Rogers and Stark argue about the according further, will Rogers nearly convinced to sign until the learn of the max of in-house arrest at a power grid station outside the city. Box sent to the Zamo contains an EMWAMP and which explodes and shuts down electricity for the entire city, including the cameras and computer that were monitoring Barnes. Barnes is released by Zamo, who used to Hydra's Tigers was to send him on a rampage. Rogers and Wilson internet and just Barnes is escaping the containment with Rogers attempting to calm Barnes. Where Wilson says after Zamo, who is attempting to feel the facility. Zamo escaped the banner, nearly gets away in the helicopter before being caught by the rockers. In a picnic, it internationally crushes the chopper and it falls into the nearby river, pulls rockers in with him before being knocked unconscious by the impact. After coming to this sense, Banner tells Roberts that Zambo is headed for the abandoned hydro facility in Siberia, where he and his 5 winter soldiers were created using the super soldiers serums installed in 1991. Believing Zamo intends to release the other winter soldiers and unleash them on the world, Rogers call upon the client Barton for aid in the freeing Wanda, and the Barton agree to since he feels he owes her debut. Her brother sacrificed himself to save his life in the Sokovia. He managed to break into the average compound and convince Wanda to come with him, who uses the ability to overpower vision. Falcon decided to recruit Scott Lang to join in the team as well, having been impressed by his ability following their duel a few months prior. Long he is and getting to meet the Captain America quickly and easily agreed to join Rockers. Back at the joint terrorism talks and the compound, Stark convinces Rose to give him 36 hours to bring his revenge, and the cameras in assemblers run of T'Challa James Rhodes has a vision and feeling he's still undermanned, and Stark travels to New York City and meets Peter Park, a high school student who has been using the enhanced ability and the potential wedding of the year designed to find the crime where the disguised as a spider-based hero known as a Spider-Man. When Stark asks him why he is going this, and the Parker explains that the understands the price of not doing right thing, trying to fill Berlin and the reach Siberia before the Rogers and his team assembled by the Leipzig airport, and where they hope to take a chopper out of country. When sirens indicate the airport is being evacuated, Rogers instruct him in the suit and to travel to the chopper alone, where he is confronted by the shark alongside his allies. When Roger refuses to back down, the average get into the massive and the fight, which destroys a large section of the airport. During the fight, the Avengers decided to buy time for the Rogers and Burners to reach the quadrant at the expense of impressment, and Ant-Man uses his sword to grow the garnish and with his scales and created enough to the direction to allow the Rogers and Burners to reach at the two controllable by the run off, but they cannot bring herself to take them down and allows to the live and Stark's quiet jet and what the rest of the Avengers are captured. As Stark and Rhodes and chase the Earth Vision attempt to flat the Falcon who is falling them out of the sky. However, he misses and accidentally hits Rhodes and the plumber to the ground. He survives the fall. His love left the paralyzed and drawn fall, knowing she will be arrested for the acting against the according after Tony gives her a half-hearted warning, goes into the hiding park in the injured in fight, and the graceful Stark stand the back home, much to the former dismay until the threatens to call his aunt office does not listen to him. Stark finds evidence and the banner was formed by the Zemo and finds that the rest of the Avengers have been thrown into the top secret prison called the Rough, designed to hold the enhanced people. He visited the dismissed and the former Avengers and temporarily disabled security in order to learn from the wellness and the Rogers and Barners are going. He follows the two Siberia and the shot by the titular Rogers and the Stark reconcile and the explore the facility. They discover that the other Winter soldiers have been murdered by the Zambo, who had never intended to release them. Zambo believes that it's a Sokovian and wanted to punish the Avengers for the death of his family during Ultron attacks. Zambo shows Stark a security video from the 1991 which reveals Banner as the assassins who murdered Stark's parents to steal the samples of the super soldiers stream for their cars. Stark asks the Rogers if he knew. Rogers tells him that did not know and Banner killed them. Not having received the answer he wanted, Starks again and the Rogers admit that he knew the word the murder are delusional and encouraged the Starks. Then turns both of them and another fight breakdown and while trying to crush Stark's arc reactor, Banner robotic arms get blasted off his the suit Abinium. Rogers finally managed to disable Stark's armor and begins to depart with the banners as Rogers leaves. Stark bitterly tells him that his shares does not belong to him, but rather his father who made it, accepting that he is no longer worthy of it and or title of the Captain America. Rogers reluctant and dropped to shield and leave with banners. Having skidded in his plans of ripping apart of Avengers, Zemo waits outside where the meet with the T'Challa and the two discuss vengeance and the terrible things it can lead me to do. The T'Challa has decided to will not let this desire for revenge consume him like it did the Zemo and the Avengers and prevents him for the committing suicide. Content on sending him to prison under the custody of the Everett Rose, Zemo hints that the while may be the impression and his grand plan was not much of as a failure as Rose suggests it was, knowing that the Avengers may and now interminably featured. And back at the Avengers facility, Stark built at exocatal the frame for the Rhodes of help him to region the use of legs Rhodes and assures the friend that the despite what happened like to him and the believe he made the right choice. Starks receive a package continuing a phone and a letter from the Rogers. In the letter, Rogers apologized for everything that happened and for not telling him to truth about his partner as well as nothing his regard the cannot accept the accords. He tells Starks that now the days and will come when the team will need to assemble and act like one again. When the day and arrive, Rogers and his team for freed from the prison will be there. A month later, Barners and the Rogers are granted allium in the Wakanda by T'Challa. Barner chooses to undergo crusters and until the brainwashing can be completely removed for suppressed and successfully as Rogers warns T'Challa that the government of the world will come to Wakanda if they find out and Barners if their T'Challa desires them to try. Shortly after the clash, Parker lies to his Auntie May about the exactly how to go his injuries, only telling him got into the fight a guy called Star from the broken and his large friend. When she leaves the partner's room, she discovers a portable holographic computer that Stark had the programmed into his web shorts. Captain America Civil War passes $800 million at the box office. Considering Marvel track record of success and near universal prize received by the Winter Soldier, it was less a question of whether Captain America Civil War would make truckloads of money and more of just how many truckloads it would be make. As of Friday, Civil War has now crossed the $800 million mark at the worldwide box office and is now the third highest grossing film of the year in that respect. The two films currently above it on the worldwide chart. The DS Batman v Superman and Dawn of the Justice and the animated Cats fame Zootopia. For the comparison sake, Civil War current exact total is $807.7 million worldwide, while the Batman v Superman starts at the $868.4 million and the Zootopia stands tall at the $960.3 million. Based on the projection, Civil War will likely surpass Batman v and Superman and the number by the close of the business this weekend. Although the Zootopia course is going to take a little more time to beat that side, and the currently partnered whole Civil War is quite likely to top the $1 billion mark the worldwide by the end of the run. That would make it only the fourth Marvel Studios movies to reach that the milestone, the other being the Avengers, Iron Man 3, and The Avengers Age of Ultron. Whether Civil War will actually outrate any of those three film final numbers remains to be seen. Although topping Iron Man 3's $1.2 billion figure might be by within reach. On the domestic side, Civil War currently sits by the fifth place for the 2016 with a $242.7 million haul. This puts in behind the Jungle Book at the $298.1 million and the BVS at the $327.8 million, Zootopia at the $329.6 million, and regioning champion Dreadpool at the $362.3 million, climbing top spot on the chart in a bit steeper uphill climb, but it could definitely be done. Civil War is projected bring into the over $70 million domestically this weekend, while entering its right over Jungle Book and getting it close to both the Batman v Superman and the Zootopia. I'm using Civil War make at least around $20 million domestically in week 3, and it probably make more than that. It can climb over those films as well. The big hardly will be topping and Deadpool, although it certainly might happen if Civil War spent a few more weeks in the box office top 10. Just how high and can the Civil War fly? It is soon to tell, but it seems that the sky might not even to be limited for the Marvel's latest hit. Captain America Civil War is a theaters now. Doctor Strange opened November 4, 2016. Guardians of the Galaxy Vol 2 May 5, 2017. Spider-Man Homecoming July 7, 2017. Thor Ragnarok November 3, 2017. Black Panther February 16, 2018. Avenger Infinite War Part 1 May 4, 2018. Ant-Man and the Wasp July 6, 2018. Captain Marvel March 8, 2019. Avenger Infinite War Part 2 May 3, 2019. And as yet untitled Marvel movies on the July 12, 2019 and on May 1st, July 10 and November 6 in the 2020. Sources comicbook.com box office photo. Box office Captain America Civil War opens to meet $181.8 million in US, hits $678.4 million globally. The superhero tentpole is assured of becoming the first title of 2016 to cross $1 billion. Continuing Disney domination elsewhere, Mother's Day makes something of a comeback in its second weekend time to the actually holiday. Marvel Studios and the Disney Captain America Civil War launched to meet the $181.8 million in North America over the weekend, kicking off the summer box office in the high style and crossing the fifth best opening of all time, as well as the top launch of 2016 to date. Overseas, where it bought last weekend, Civil War took in another $220 million, including $96 million in China. The foreign total of $496.6 million and worldwide haul of $678 million after just 12 days in release. Directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, Civil War is all about the short of becoming the first release of 2016 to top the $1 billion mark at the worldwide box office. The critically acclaimed superhero film continues Disney domination between the Lucasfilm Star Wars The Force Awakens. The movie opened at the last date December. The state a huge player in the first part of the new year, The Jungle Book and the Zootopia. In the terms of opening weekend ranking, Civil War shot past Iron Man 3, $174 million to come in at number 5 behind the Star Wars. The Force Awakens $248 million, Jurassic World $208.8 million, The Avengers Avengers $207.4 million and Avengers Age of Ultron $191.3 million, not accounting for inflation. But another way Disney claims for the five top opening Jurassic World was released by Universal. Civil War is more Avenger-like in the field that the previous two stand alone. The Captain America films in its shows Captain America the Winter Soldier debuted to $95 million, where Captain America the First Avenger opened to $65.1 million. Civil War says the Avengers' futures and the forced to choose the size between the Captain America Steve Rogers, Chris Evans, and the Iron Man Tony Stark's Robert Downey Jr. When the government tries to control the superheroes, many of the other Avengers stars appear in the movie, including Scarlett Johansson, Anthony Mackie, and the Germ Runner, plus new addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Black Panther and the Spider-Man Peter Parker, Tom Holland make their debut. There's the overwhelming momentum of the universe. There has been a consistent approach by Kevin Feige and his team at the Marvel to deliver consistent, high-quality content. Said Disney distribution chef Dave Hollis and the title competition between now and Memorial Day, we are stepped to tones and the business. Costing $250 million to make, Civil War is 13th title in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. In addition to being the impressed by critics, it currently shows 91% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes, a strong number of a popcorn movie. It also the won over the audience, who gave it an cinema score, and the moviegoers under the age of 25 gave it an A+. The tentpole scores male 59%, with adult making up 69% of the ticket, where follows by the families 20% and teens 11%. Heading into the weekend, Disney tried to keep the expectations in check by suggesting a domestic debut in the $175 million range. Many box office analysts welcome and we more the bullshit, saying it had a shot of crossing $190 million on par with the Age of Ultron. Still, movie did not have Avengers in the title, and its initial performance in the considered a huge win by the analyst and the rival studio. Gary Marshall's ensembles and the holiday comedy Mother's Day seemed to get a huge boost from the actual holiday and was up 7.6% in its second weekend, grossing $9 million for a domestic total of $20.7 million. That's the major comeback after the debuting to trouble $8.4 million open road film in the releasing the movie. Mother's Day placed number 3 behind the Civil War and the Jungle Book, which remained formidable and forced its fourth weekend, grossing $21.9 million for a domestic total of $285 million internationally. It grossed another $24.1 million mark, is at the races toward the $500 million mark, finishing Sunday with a foreign game for $91.2 million worldwide. John Forrest's film has grossed $776.2 million. Universal The Huntsman Winter was followed at number 4, but continued to follow the staple in North America, talking in the $3.6 million in its third weekend for the domestic total of $40.4 million. The Big, the Fragile, and the Better overseas, grossing $105.9 million, but its global total of $146.3 million still is considered a major disappointment. Elsewhere, Can You Tamble 67% and its second outing to $3.1 million for the domestic total $15.1 million. The domestic budget new line comedy placed number 5 domestically. Number 8. Captain America Civil War Box Office Profit 2016 Most Valuable Movie Blockbuster Tournament. When it comes to the evaluating at the financial performance of top movie, it is about what a film grosses at the box office. The true tale is told when production budget, P and entertainer participations and other costs collide with the box office grosses, and initially revenge for the VOD to DVD and the TV to get to close that mysterious and off of the equation. Deadline is refuting our most valuable blockbuster tournament using data called by the second and the trusted sources. Captain America Civil War, Disney Marvel. The film, in a big year for the superhero movies, none grossed higher than the Captain America Civil War. The Joy and Anthony Russo directed by the film that not only managed to tell a coherent and crowd-pleasing story that the command to dozen Marvel superheroes, but also become the first Captain America film to cross the $1 billion worldwide gross mark. The film was a marvel in how to serve the architecture of the entire Marvel Studios universe. Captain America Civil War laid the plot groundwork for two sequels to the highest grossing movie line. The Avenger, which the Russo siblings are directing back to back in the addition movie, gave a strong launch to give the Spider-Man movie and the other Marvel creative control. Spider-Man Homecoming, the film introduced Dream to Holland and the young web slinger, and the played up is the relationship with the Robert Downey and the Spider-Man Homecoming. This summer there was just a strong a launch paid Boseman playing the lead in the movie that the creates Ryan Coogler is the direction. There is a lot of buzz to keep in her, and how did the movie perform financially? Let's take a look. Captain America Civil War crossing $1 billion at the box office. In the last week alone, we have seen Captain America Civil War push the collective Marvel Cinematic Universe over the $10 billion mark as bars the $300 million domestically and scored toward a global total of over $1 billion. Today, the Joy and Anthony Russo movie should cross that milestone, making it the fourth of the Disney Marvel movie to do so. It's also Disney's $10th billion film, which is pretty impressive considering that there are only 25 of them in the cinematic history. Thursday box office total gave the third cap film the $3.7 million both domestically to bring the current total $314.3 million after the 13 days of release, a number it took the Batman v Superman and more for weeks to reach. Now it's on the 57th day of release. The Warner Bros. DS Comics superhero and the fast take looks to the topping out around the $328.5 million to $330 million, a number that Captain America Civil War has not yet met but easily could this weekend. Internationally, caps additional $5.3 million from Thursday brings the day total to $9 million, leaving the global box office total of $991 million after the 24 days of global release. This makes the film the one worldwide box office of 2016 and puts it behind Marvel The Avenger $1.518 million, Avenger Age of Ultron $1.405 billion, and Iron Man 3 $1.215 billion in the billion dollar club. But sure to check back and weekend for both of full Friday and weekend box office reports. For more on Captain America Civil War, take a look at the sum of our recent coverage below. Civil War made some of the same mistake as a Batman v Superman. It just made them lose obvious. Culture's best of the week, Assassin's Creed, Deadpool, and the X-Men team up and more. Friday box office Captain America Civil War rages on money. Monster debuted at #2. Substance Stan and Auntie Mikey on the Captain America Civil War, and Buck is here. Why the Dark Knight and trilogy is better than the Captain America trilogy. The new Captain America movies has the fifth best opening ever at the box office. Marvel and Disney have done it again. The third Captain America movie, Captain America Civil War, did not just have the biggest opening of any the Cap movies, but the fifth large domestic opening ever with an estimated $181.8 million according to the boxoffice.com. Though the film did not hit the reflect year of a $200 million opening as same in the industry projected, it still an impressive started to summer movie season at it tracked in the $25 million on its Thursday preview and $75 million on its opening day on Friday. With the opening of Civil War, which is the 13th feature film in the Disney Marvel Cinematic Universe, it joins our title from the MCU in the top 5 of the largest opening weekends. Ahead of Civil War are follow Marvel titles Avenger Age of Ultron $191.2 million and the Avengers of $207.4 million. Then Jurassic World $208.8 million and the leading pick as the Star Wars The Force Awakens $247.9 million, and the Civil War now has the third best opening with the Avengers and Age of Ultron are head of it. The film, which follows the Avengers as are split between the fictions and Team Captain America and Team Iron Man, is also dominating overseas as well, having earned over the $496 million today. And the continued Disney dominance and the box office as a film released by the studio has been number one in the US for the last 4 weeks. Civil War topping the box office follows the 3-week region of the Jungle Book, which earned $21.87 million over the weekend, $285 million domestically, and the $776 million globally date. Counting the continued success of Jupiter, Disney leads at all the studio at the domestic. box office in 2016 with over $1 billion. Thanks to its current 91% rating on Tomatoes, expect another big weekend for the Civil War next week as the biggest title opening opposite it is George Clooney, Julia Roberts thriller Money Monster. Box office Captain America Civil War blast off to $180 million weekend. Captain America Civil War is making US box office history, blasting to the fifth best opening weekend ever with an estimated $180 million. Marvel Disney tentpole launched the summer moviegoing season on Friday with a spectacular $75.3 million at 4,226 locations, the eighth highest opening day of all time. That figure includes $25 million from Thursday night preview showings. Captain America Civil War should finish the weekend in elite company behind only four other films: Star Wars: The Force Awakens at $248 million, Jurassic World at $208.8 million, Marvel's The Avengers at $207.4 million, and Avengers: Age of Ultron at $191.3 million. Projections on Saturday showed the third Captain America will replace Iron Man 3, which opened with $174.1 million on the same weekend in 2013 as the fifth highest launch at the US box office. Its per minute location average is about 42,000 for the weekend. The $75 opening day total for Civil War trails only seven titles led by The Force Awakens at $119.1 million, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2 at $91.1 million, Ultron at $84.4 million, Jurassic World at $82 million, Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice at $81.6 million, Marvel's The Avengers at $80.8 million, and The Dark Knight Rises at $75.8 million. Captain America Civil War, the 13th film in the Marvel Universe, has already shown plenty of power outside the US with $291.2 million as of the Thursday after 9 days. That number should jump this weekend thanks in part to opening the China. Disney marketing hooks for the movie include a duel between the Chris Evans Captain America and Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man, plus the introduction of Chadwick Boseman Black Panther and Tom Holland Spider-Man. The Captain America Winter Soldier's directorial team of the John and the Anthony Rossi helmed the sequel. Online ticketing services Fandagon reported on Wednesday that Civil War had generated a record in audience sales for a superhero titled The Surprising Batman vs Superman: Dawn of Justice, Avengers: Age of Ultron, and The Avengers. No other title is opening this weekend, but Disney The Jungle Book is dominating the whole world with an estimated $23 million at 4,144 US locations, dropping 47% after winning the previous three films, and handily the Avenger comedy should close the weekend with about $286 million in its first 24 days in the US. Open Road's second weekend of ensemble comedy Mother's Day lead the rest of the pack with about the $6.5 million at 3,141 sites, down 23%. Captain America knocks out Iron Man in Civil War box office win. Civil War now owns the fifth biggest domestic opening of all time, knocking Iron Man 3 out of the #5 spot. You will have to see the movie if you want to know how Captain America Civil War turns out, but Team Cap beat Tam Lorman in the Only the Battle that Matters that at won the box office. Captain America Civil War's estimated $181.8 million opening is the biggest far in 2016 at the fifth biggest opening weekend box office of all time. The previous fifth place record holder was Iron Man 3 with $174 million. The $181.8 million opening also puts Civil War ahead of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, which took the in $166 million during its first weekend. It was a huge opening for Warner Bros. Through BVS failed to plant the landing in the subsequent weeks as poor word of mouth and the dismal reviews contributed to steep drop-offs at the box office. Disney estimated a weekend total of $401.8 million for Civil War globally. The third Captain America film opened the internationally last weekend in 9 major foreign markets and close to 30 smaller ones. The cumulative global total now stands at roughly $678.4 million. It was a great weekend Disney, which occupies the top two positions in the weekend's domestic box office earnings, trailing far behind Civil War in its fourth week of the release in the Jungle Book with an estimated $21.9 million. The live-action adaptation is starting to slow down after weeks 2 and 3 saw minimal drop of 40% and 29% respectively in internship, with weeks 50% drop off in the movie biggest to date. Thought that to be executed with Civil War official nicking off the summer blockbuster season. The Jungle Book is doing fine. It's pulled in roughly $285 million domestically since its open on April 15th and more than $776 million internationally. It's 2016 third highest worldwide earner, so far behind only Disney Zootopia $956.4 million and Warner Bros. Batman v Superman $865.5 million. The box office weekend trails off significantly after Jungle Book Mother Day in the #3 spot with an estimated $9 million. That's actually an 8% increase over last week than it debuted. Thought that hardly a surprise during the Mother's Day holiday weekend. The Huntsman writer war $3.6 million and Key and Peele comedy new $3.1 million occupy the fourth and fifth spot respectively. Have something to add this story? Share it in comment. Captain America Civil War box office crosses $300 million. Monday box office total have boosted Marvel Captain America Civil War past the $300 million mark domestically. The movie directed by Joe and Anthony Russo just narrowly missed the milestone this past weekend, as is claimed the #1 spot of the second weekend in a row. And because I know you guys love comparing Disney Marvel performance to that of Warner Bros. DS Comic, I will just throw that there, and the third Captain America movie hit $300 million in just 10 days, a full 9 days earlier than Zack Snyder's Batman v Superman. Q Media buys comments in 3, 2, 1. Caps ongoing box office success with obviously decline over the next few weeks, but it remains to be seen just how strong it will be. Upcoming senders to the crown include the Chinese animated Andrew Bird movie Neighbors 2, Sorority Rising, Shane Black's The Nice Guys, Lies Through the Looking Glass, and the X-Men Apollo 6. Captain America Civil War region top the heap probably would not survive to see the June, and there's good chance it will slip out to the top spot this coming weekend. However, Disney has something else to celebrate, and it's just the upcoming debut of the sequel to their super successful allies in the Wonderland movie. This interconnected culture judgment known as the Marvel Cinematic Universe (MCU) just crossed the $10 billion line, including all 13 films released in the last 9 years. It's worth noting that Marvel is missing out on big box office from the X-Men, Spider-Man, Deadpool, and yes, even Fantastic Four franchise, but that's them's the breaks when you sell off your farmed properties to their studio. Disney $4 million purchases of these remaining Marvel standouts, however, it looked like quite the savvy financial movie. Captain America Civil War 2 crossed the $1 billion at global box office, with $314 million domestically and $677 million internationally through May 19. Marvel's Captain America Civil War will cross the $1 billion global mark today on only its 24th day of global release. It's the #1 film of the year globally and the fourth Marvel Cinematic Universe (MCU) film to surpass the $1 billion Third holiday, and the joining the Avengers $1.518 billion, Avengers Age of the Ultron $1.405 billion and $1.215 billion. Together, the 13 MCU films have earned more than $10 billion in global box office, with nearly $2.1 billion coming from the 3 Captain America films. Captain America Civil War is also the Disney $10th billion release out of the 25 films that have reached this milestone in the history of the industry. Captain America Civil War fights its way to fifth largest opening weekend of all time. Captain America Civil War pulled in an estimated $181.8 million in North America this weekend with the fifth biggest North American box office opening in history. According to Box Office Mojo, that's addition to the $496.6 million ad the movie made globally since it opened overseas last weekend. Despite the massive haul, the movie in which Charis Avenge Captain America voice with the Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man did not quite meet box office analysis expectations. Many predicted the film would score $200 million opening weekend after it earned critical reviews through Disney itself projected a haul of $175 million. It will still a huge victory for Disney, who owns Marvel Studios. The studios have produced 4 of the 5 opening weekend of all time. Stars The Wars and The Force Awakens, The Avengers of Age Ultron, and now Captain America Civil War Studio holds second place behind Star Wars. Now, with the help of the Civil War and the Jungle Book, Disney has already made $1.1 billion in North America in just 128 days. This year, a new record. It's likely to be a good year for the studio, which still has the funding Nemo sequel Finding Dory, the Marvel movies starring Benedict Cumberbatch and Doctor Strange, and the Star Wars films Rough on appearing in 2016. Captain America Civil War dominates the US box office, to the surprise of the absolutely no one following its successful launch overseas. The way of positive reviews and the healthy word of mouth, Captain America Civil War rocketed into the top spot at the US box office this weekend, earning a huge $181.7 million according to studio estimates. Civil War's opening puts is third in the charts of the Marvel launch behind the Avengers, aka Avengers Assemble and the Age of Ultron, and while some had predicted that it could cross the $200 million mark, $180 million plus kickoff is nothing to sniff at, including its overseas taking. The third Captain America movie is now on $678.3 million globally after a week in the charts. Average and the high cinema score upon its stateside arrival means the new movie should keep the earning for weeks to come. In comparison, the year's other big superhero, SmackDown Batman Superman Dawn of Justice, is close to finishing up with $865.4 million worldwide after 7 weeks in the chart. Cap and Co. Dislodged and the Jungle Book, through given that they are the both under the Disney banner, you have to got the figure that the Mouse House is happy. John Favreau's update the Rudyard scaling and tally the Disney animation production from it took in $21.8 million this weekend for the Gary Marshall's Mother's Day, surprised by jumping one slot from its fourth place launch on $9 million. Though having the actual Mother's Day in the US happen this weekend will have happened, the fourth was the Huntsman Winter War, which continues to struggle, adding $3.5 million, while Kitchen Action Comedy Can You was down to fifth with the $3 million. Barbershop, the next cut, dropped a place to 6th on $2.7 million, with the Zoopedia slipping to 7th and the $2.6 million. Militia MC Cortez, the Boss clung the 8th with $1.7 million, while the animated Avenger Ratchet Clank for the 9th and the $1.4 million, and the 10th we find the after mentioned Batman vs Superman, which is close to leaving the top 10 and the earned a shade over $1 billion this weekend. Box office milestone, Captain America Civil War crossed $1 billion. The superhero film is the biggest film of the year to date and the 25th movie to achieve the milestone, not accounting for inflation. Disney and Marvel Studios' Captain America Civil War has become the first movie of 2016 to cross the $1 billion mark as the global box office. The superhero film achieved the milestone on Friday. Through Thursday, the tentpole's earnings were $314.3 million in the North America and $676.7 million internationally for a worldwide total of $991 million. Among other states, Civil War is the 25th title to join the billion-dollar club, not accounting for inflation. All told, Disney lays claim to 10 of those. Civil War, directed by Anthony and Joe Russo, reached the milestone in 24 days, matching Avengers Age of Ultron in 2015. The movie in the fourth title in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to surpass $1 billion after the Avengers $1.51 billion, Age of Ultron $1.41 billion, and the Iron Man 3 $1.22 billion. Box office Captain America Civil War starts summer with sizzling $181.8 million. Los Angeles Marvel Disney Captain America Civil War has opened the summer spectacular with the dominates $181.8 million weekend and 4,266 US locations. The third Captain America movie met loftily expectations with the fifth best domestic opening weekend of all time, trailing only Star Wars. The Force Awakens at $248 million, Jurassic World at $208.8 million, Marvel's The Avengers at $207.4 million, and Avengers Age of Ultron at $191.3 million. The tentpole has already topped the final domestic total of 2011's Captain America The First Avengers at $176.6 million and should eclipse 2014's Captain America The Winter Soldier as $259 million by the end of the next weekend. The marketing for Civil War clearly resonated with the moviegoers as it promised an epic fifth between Cherry's Avengers Captain America and Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man, plus the introduction of the Chadwick Boseman Black Panther and the Tom Holland Spider-Man. Paul Daragodian, senior media analyst with the Comscore, said the performance of Captain America Civil War underlines Marvel and Disney adapted management of key franchise. Captain America Civil War recently delivered the good as the official kick-off movie. The summer of 2016 was in perfect position to capitalize on its sheer quality, massive entertainment value, brand appeal, and a high-profile release date. He noted despite a cardiac of the sport-related opens on the small screen, including the Nectarine Derby and the Stanley Cup playoffs, Capcom on the strong with the top of 5 all-time opening weekend debut and executed long-term bankability of the multiplex. Captain America Civil War is also knowing the US box office on track of a record performance in 2016 with $3.856 billion through its weekend 7.8% ahead of the same point last year and an impressive 14.7% ahead of 2014. Disney has played a major role in that gain with The Jungle Book and The Zootopia delivering blockbuster members plus Star Wars. The Force Awakens providing $285 million or 30% of its $936 million totally. The fourth weekend of the Jungle Book franchise second the Captain America with the $21.9 million at 4,144 sites to lift list the 24 days total to $285 million. Open Road's comedy Mother's Day came in the distant third, the $9 million at the 3,141 point, followed by the universal third frame of the Huntsman Winter War with the $3.6 million at 2,901. With its epic title Mother's Day saw on the impressive 7% rise in the business during the Mother's Day weekend, falling as so the opening frame. The assembled movie starring Jennifer Aniston, Julia Roberts and Kate Hudson with the taken in $20.7 million in its first 10 days. The 10th weekend of the Zootopia was edged out the 5th by New Line's second session of the Canoe, which fell more than 67% to about $3.1 million. Zootopia followed the $2.7 million at the 2,077 locations, bringing at 66 days and total to $327.6 million. As a result, Zootopia has eclipsed Warner Bros. Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice by $3 lakh at the year's second biggest domestic grosses after Fox Deadpool at $362.2 million. Captain America Civil War Review. After months of anticipation, countless trailer watching and the rewatching and 2 viewings in the span of 2 days, I am finally ready to write my Captain America Civil War review. After seeing it Thursday night, I had tons of thoughts running through my head, but I wanted to wait and process the film. Plus, I wanted the second viewing so I could see it as a movie and less as an event. I have done the now and I have got plenty of thoughts. It's time to switch the bullet points and break down the truly awesome epicness and the vast Civil War for the new and the spoiler ahead, so you should be good. First thing first, Civil War is the anti-BVS in just about the every way imaginable. the Russo brother, who I want to direct our Marvel movie from here on out, understand not only these characters but the universe that they inhabit. While the tone and the themes of the movie are a bit serious and heavy, the use of humor and lightheartedness help to break them, and which was the something that was surely missing from BVS. Knowing your character and how they are supposed to act in the relation to previous movie and the source material also help the tremendous. Not once did I feel that Cap or Iron Man were poorly misrepresented. These voices and the action were contensed with what we have to come to expect from them, which allows the story to have the impact as things fall apart around them. As a comic book fan, Civil War the movie is very different from its comic counterpart 1, and I was okay with that. As a matter of fact, it was expected considering the landscape of the MCU, but I was super pumped to see them work in the event that chanced into full guilt mode. The inclusion of the child who died out in the Sokovia impaired the perfectly. The child died in the Civil War comic and really captured Tony into the action here. Plus, I think this was the Robert Downey Jr. best performance as the Tony Stark in quite some time. Not saying that has been bad, quite the contrary, but the seemed revisioned and the deeply rooted in the conflict. Don't get it wrong, this movie is a Tony Stark movie, not an Iron Man movie. Civil War has tone of movie part, but while it sort of plays like Avenger 2.5, it never loses the fact that it's a Captain America Civil War, and where all these conflicts are going down, Steven Rogers is always present and always rotated in the center of the plot. Another thing that was missing from the BVS, which was supposed to be sequel to Man of Steel but tried too hard to everything else. That airport battle will go down as one of the greatest action sequences in superhero movie history. This is not a debut only fact. When Jerry Evans was casted as Cap, I had my debut. I did not think he would be able to pull it off. For that, I am sorry. He owns that role and is not only the staff rocker but need to be one Davers and never stop being Captain America. Jerry Evans never. I love how Marvel uses the Captain America movie as ways to change the landscape of the MCU. I am curious to how the movie forward from there. I would not get too into the because of spoiler, but things end up and different for our heroes once the credit rolls. The storytelling here was crispy, and by time everything is connected, you are left with that oh shit feeling that I should have been seen that coming. It still shocks and hurt everything BVS wanted with the martels and moments but did not get. The Marth movement in Civil War actually hold weight, makes sense, and at fantastically other-hearted. I want to take some time to focus on some of the characters that are not Tony Stark as top burger, and because there are tons of them and handful of them straight up steal the snow. I will start with the Black Panther because at Civil War leaves you have anything else want to more Black Panther. The character is introduced smoothly and in a way that makes sense immediately. He carries a sense of importance and badgersy and then jump into the action. The costumes is like Coppola's dream and his action scenes are the tremendous. I am disappointed that his movie has been pushed back to 2018 and hope Marvel is looking to interpreting him into the other movie in the meantime. But speaking of the reason why Black Panther was pushed back, Spider-Man, as soon as he came the screen, I knew that this was the Spider-Man I have been waiting my whole life to see on the big screen. Not only does the kid have the better Barack and Don, his voice is that I have been the hero every time I have read a Spider-Man comic since I have cared, and his scenes with the Tony are fantastic and his ability to play off the other character is charming and refreshing. It seems that finally we have the Spider-Man we have been asking for since that started making movie about them. And thank you Marvel for talking Sunny into this and bring Alb and the web head back home. Ant-Man also is tremendous here and should not be overlooked. How can be? But for my Black Widow, there was ever to time make a Black Widow movie. It's now I am not the biggest Scarlett Johansson for the but she straight up owns his role each movie, delves deeper into the character and has my waiting more. Not to mention the being reading her also the solo series and his character all type the awesome. The good news in that Marvel announced this weekend that they are seriously pushing a Black Widow movie, which is a win of all us. It's way overdue to she had our chance to shine by herself. Make sure you stay for two post credit scene. I love and how to the final battle sequence help tie it all on through the Captain America movie. All it takes is Steve saying I can go this all day and just shows how much the Rossio brother get and respect this character and his story. Speaking of the Rossio brothers and respecting, they are clearly fans to add Breaker, Captain America Ron, which are some of the best Captain America comic you will ever read. Not bullshit, plus the love to capture important imaginary for the comic. This scene of Iron Man blasting Cap Shield is quite the homage to panel. I geek out hard for things like that. The long and the short of it, if you have not seen Captain America Civil War, you should literally stop and you are doing right now and go right now because it worth every penny. It is easily in the top 3 movie Marvel has done and could very well to be sitting on the top of list once the smoke settles. Very rarely does a movie come along with this much hype and still manage to stick the landing. Some might argue again the benefit from the BVS being what it is, but I would disagree, and the Civil War was always going to be good, but it probably shines our brothers and because BVS did not. And I come across this is how you are supposed to be a superhero movie and we are all winner because of it. I said to my sister halfway through the film, I cannot wait to watch these Malin stunts when it come out on DVD. Bravo Marvel, bravo. Captain America Civil War Review. As someone who enjoyed the beautiful mess that was Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice and is getting somewhat tried to of Marvel formula, I found Age of Ultron to be slightly boring. I went into Civil War thinking that I may not enjoy it, even though it did receive a lot of critical acclaim when it was released back in my well. That was not the case. Captain America Civil War was highly enjoyable and satisfying due to the character dynamics and the series tone, but also a little disappointing due to its unnecessary convoluted plot and the underwhelming violence. To start with the positive, Marvel knows how to portray its heroes and complicated character with clear motivations and emotions. From Steve Rogers to Vision, each hero is acting for every specific reason, from political reason to emotional ones. The hero fight and argue with each other using their word and fighting abilities to support their opening. The Sokovia Accords, which have been written by the anti-unions to keep the Avengers inviting in check to prevent further civilization conflicts and effectively split the growth of heroes into two. Tony Stark is the agreement that there need to be more oversight after learning about the disgusting personal losses of strangers affected by the Avengers' action, while Captain Rogers is wary of the government. Rogers is aware of government control due to his experience with the Shield and the Yadra during the event of Captain America Winter Soldiers. These two photographs that has had to had some of the best comic book action sequences ever put to film. The Russo director have improved upon the solid hand-to-hand combat from the previous Capet movie by the adding more physical in the camera stunt work, including several impressive pieces of foot chase scenes. Characters spring between cars, jump over obstacles, and have a variety of acrobat fighting style. Two scenes in the particular stand out. One has the emotional fight between Iron Man, Captain America, and Bucky Barnes in close quarter that has great geography and the scenography. To other that has been much discussed in the airport fight scene. When I saw the trailer and saw the two sides run to each other on the empty tarmac, all I could think was how bland it would be good, and many heroes fight each other against a grey colored, black colored, and thankful the abilities of the heroes on the display, particularly those Black Panther, Spider-Man, and Ant-Man were incredible and made these scenes worth the price of that vision alone. It is pretty exciting, funny, thrilling, and surprising. Ant-Man that he was awesome. The film does diminish to stake when characters are not is actually danger, as proven was the Black Widow and the Hawkeye are fighting, and they get about the pulling punches and still remaining friends. If no long term the consequences occur for the side character in this fight, why fight and why the recruit Spider-Man and Ant-Man, and no long as is 6 vs 6 really going to make more impact than 5 vs 5. Speaking of Spider-Man, Tom Holland killed it as a poor the best Lester diving teenager Peter Park to me, and he has Peter the minute they started talking to Start and Aunt May, Merchant Tommy. This was the best incursion of the Peter and his alto, the ego sands, and the same brand in first two Spider-Man films. He was great for the movement to be dialogue. He just felt perfect. I now have high hopes of the Spider-Man Homecoming. Black Panther also left a positive impact on me. Chadwick Boseman has continuously impressed by each time I have seen him, so I am thrilled has the opportunity to shine as the exciting new character. He was simple, emotional, charming, heroic, and royal in the role of T'Challa. He truly inhabited the role of a ruler of small but powerful country. Plus, seeing his fighting abilities was incredible fun with Bossman portraying the stock of King of the Weekend or Randall Coogler directing the incredible cast. I cannot wait for Black Panther. So if the two new heroes are great and the action was for the part in the exciting and physical and brutal and the character have clear but emotional and the political motivation to go against each other, how should the film also disappoint because of the villain? I still hope to write about the how MCU as the terrible villains and those on the Netflix show, so I will keep these rants short. Marvel need better villains. They need people with enough screen time to fully develop their motivations, and the menace Civil War unfortunately does not have that. Zemo played by the great Daniel Brod. Everyone should see Rush starting Brawl and Thor himself. Cherry's awesome brothel is fantastic. It has motivation that are reasonable and valid enough to pit Iron Man and the Captain America against the another, but his evil plot is the involved some the Avenger too much of the big silly red herring that the emotional impact of his second at last scene is missed. Yes, the reason for this action make perfect sense, but the action did not make sense, like the last Luthor in the surprisingly similar Batman vs Superman in the terms of the basic plot points and almost domestic day type fight at the end. Zombie master plan is mess and should never had been included. Zombie could have been a politician from the Sokovia and would superheaded the Accords. He could have the release of Wantel and the information as a politician soldier with power and sway to force Iron Man to go after the bag, and would have to lead through the same final fight between the Barners, Roberts and Stark. Them could have to lead the some emotional black story which is good but had a different plan. Instead his plan stemmed to the coincidence and the third party choice. There were too many variables to his plan. Shark and Roberts did not need an outside villain to force them to each other. There is personal motivation would have to cause them to anyway. Bruce did not play the typically egos that was about by the bad and the covered power to have power like in the Thor, the Dark World, Guardians of the Galaxy, Avenger, Age of Ultron, Captain America, the first Avenger, Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk, etc. He had the zero superpowers and was just a man, stickers and the witch grave who wanted to vengeances and against the Avengers, which is a great concept and one worth exploring. Unfortunately, this film failed to fully realize the vision and idea. Zemo have should been one of the better villains of this ever-growing and exciting franchise. He only has two good scenes and one which T'Challa has they discussed Avengers and other weird the additions to a families, and that is the rest causes confusion and anyone's and the frustration. And also Roger's relationship with the shadow cartoon secret that noise is incredible underdevelopment and does not belong in this film. Sharon Carter is not bad character and I look forward to seeing more of the Rogers does not need a love interest. He already had to grade the with Peggy Carter and their relationship was already complex and beautiful. Let the relationship and that woman define him and his heart, not Peggy's nice. Overall, Captain America Civil War continues the great ends of the Captain America series of films. Each one is entertaining and improved on its predecessor as multiple ways. The main conflict is interesting and worth exploring. Stuff Roger in all of his wise odd goodness continues to be the stand hero in the MCU for the way is Horizon. Marvel has successfully explored what it means to be a soldier and be American Power Rangers and the friendship. Friendship is the key theme in this film as the bond between the Stark and Rogers between and the friendship between the Rogers and the Barners strengthens these character diverse to be the central conflict of the souls and film to be bad weekend and the violence lessons the impact of Captain America v Iron Man. Review Captain America Civil War. While an understandable superhero movie, fatigue has set in for many long-time invested fans look forward and to each the new installment to the Marvel India's cinematic universes. For me personal, the Captain America film have been particularly exciting part of is due to my love for the Cap character dating back to my childhood, but it also because the previous two films have been among the Marvel best, especially 2014's The Winter Soldiers. The third Cap movie holds an unusual position in Marvel Grand Picture. It does not actually feel like a Captain America film. It feels much bigger and broader, and Avengers, like the installment of, if you will, Anthony and Joe Russo return to direct a screenplay by the Stephen MC Feely and the Chris Ford Marco, the filmmaker, have the certainly made a movie which seeks to expand the MCU narrative and rather than the telling a tiger more focused Captain America story. The story is inspired by a fantastic Marvel comic crossover, even that from the 2006 through 2007. The story had a ripple effect that reaches to several individual hero comic, most notable Captain America. Here, as expected, there are few similarities to the comic arc other than a rift between the Avengers. The massive destruction and the concludes following the Avengers' previous battle have driven government worldwide to adopt the Sokovia Accords, which place the Avengers under the United Nations control. Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. signs off the resolution, saying the Avengers as one better than the criminal if they have the unwilling to play by rules. Staff Rogers, Charis Evans stand from his trust of the team judgment and his distrust of the politics and the government. The rift between the heroes present itself early on, or the film takes the time in developing it, along with the day and ties up several loose ends of the previous two Cap movies, as well as put heavy emphasis on his continuing search of the Bucky, aka the Winter Soldiers. And Civil War features so many moving parts, and most of them function well. The established characters still and have the same charm and the charisma, and it will enjoy the spending time with them. That's one reason it is easy to affect it once that tension spare up, and the Marvel Studio has done a great job introducing their character and developing the relationship between them. A couple of the noticeable are missing here, but some new players as added into the fold. Chadwick Boseman is a fantastic as Black Panther, and the Tom Holland takes on the role of the Spider-Man. Story-wise, things are the best when the focus on it, but it influenced a bit, telling the story of the mysterious Sokovia military played by the Daniel Brühl. His story is a bit second and never has a satisfying end. Another strength of the film in its pulse-pounding action part of what made the Winter Soldier great was that it used a lot of traditional effect and stunt work. It is the same here, intensely geographic action sequences and come in the sports and each other incredible impressive. Of course, we get some CGI, but the hand-to-hand, the combat and wild chase sequences are mainly done via school means, and several of the scenes are still covered in my memory. The family also the steer clear of a big mind-numbing CGI laden final to the crumbling stack paper or the Gavis devastation. It will be a violent ending, but much more personal and the consequential. The movie should be also the commended of the journally trying to ask some significant question and deal with some weight issues, and it does not just do them out there is and then I leave them behind this diminution and the throughout the film character, whereas the death and loss others struggle with the responsibility and the consequences. And while the film may not be an appeal to deep the thinker among its large amount of the fan, and it does explore areas that few from the genre care of too. And the Captain America Civil War feels like 2K could be titled Avengers Civil War. In fact, that actually serves a better Avengers sequence that last year ago of the Ultron. But we do still get plenty of Captain America and its character. It's still the most intriguing process in the entire puzzle. But as a whole, the movie does more the ultra and the landscape of the Marvel cinematic universe as well know it by, and things are much different. Character have been impact, relationship have been affected. Most important, it said before, is a very interesting landscape and the potential for some incredible intriguing storyline, and cannot wait to see where things go next. Captain America Civil War review. The buck stop here. I am going to open this review by stating that I have love-hate relationship with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I find some of these films wonderfully entertaining while others are just so meh. And I remember seeing the original Iron Man back in 2008 and the being blown away by it. That film has such rich storytelling and the great performances and great action sequences. After Iron Man come the rest of the Marvel Marvel Phase 1 films that include The Incredible Hulk, Thor, Iron Man 2, Captain America the First Avenger, and The Avenger 1. Remember being disappointed with almost of all these films with the expectation of The Avengers, which I love and still believe to be one of the best Marvel films to date. Marvel's Phase 2 had more ads and then the misses with the Thor 2 and Age of Ultron being the weakest and link of the chain. Now Phase 3 has officially begun and the Captain America Civil War takes place shortly after the events of Avengers Age of Ultron. The film opens with the battle sequences, is logos, and without giving anything away result in a building explosion involving sacred watch. This opening scene intensely pulls audiences into the story and it set up the film main plot rather nichely. My only real complaint about this scene is that looks like it was shot in the some sort of 240Hz frame rate, which made it rather difficult for me to enjoy the non-stop action in this scene. While most of the world sees the Avengers as heroes, there are others who view them the villains and who need to hold the accountable for their action. After the incident in the Logos, the United States, along with the 117 other countries, have dedicated to the Avengers must sign the Sokovia Accords if they want to continue protecting their country and the world. Just the idea of Sokovia According to create a rift between the members of the Avengers. While Tony Stark agreed the government should have some control over their action, Steve Rogers strongly disagrees. The Avengers are now forced to pick a side and those choose the whether that want to work with the government to be viewed as a vigilance that will be persecuted if they act without permission. Add in a spotlight solving and the around Bucky being brainwashed and the framed as a terrorist hydra and you have to a basic understanding of everything that is about to go down in the third Captain America installment. Outside of that other comic book universe that everyone has been complaining about, Captain America Civil War has one of the most anticipated releases of 2016. This is the Iron Man vs Captain America film and that the Marvel fans had been eagerly waiting for. I am happy to report the Civil War is well worth the wait and the serve as one of the best films in the MCU so far, even that its fairly share of flaws. I will begin with the flaws before I will dive into the good stuff. The first major flaw of the Civil War is the runtime at the 146 minute. Captain America Civil War is about 20 to 30 minutes to go long. As I previously stated, that film draws the audience in the right way, but while the film keeps jogging along, a lot of characters are introduced and a lot of secondary politline and the sum of these politeness drag bit, and given the fact that you kind and already know what the film is headed is become a bit dull waiting for it happen. Alongside the bloated runtime and the various plot development and the character introduction, there are so many polytons and the many characters that they push come to stop. This does not even like a Captain America with film, but rather than a way to stop it and a bunch of the film that Marvel has coming down the spike. I think it comic that so many people have complicated the Amazing Spider-Man 2 and the Batman vs Superman try to set up too much, yet this film does the exact same thing. The setup is Civil War might be a bit better than those other the film because essentially it will try to the best of more than it can chew. Civil War sets the audiences up for a Black Panther film, another Spider-Man film, and the next Avenger film. There is seriously so much build up to other films in this universe, and that time you want to this film to be over, you focus on that of the other polytons and the being hunted upon. It also need to be said there are a lot of the characters that are part of that film and not all of them are given a proper introduction of nearly enough screen time. I would not go into the great detail, but let's just the Ant-Man and the Hawkeye in the particular and the just thrown into the mix, and these two character locked introduction and felt a through runner and the rod were just told to show up on set and film their scene. Ant-Man is a particular real part of the film and the even though is without doubt the scene trailer whenever the appears. I may be alone on this, but my biggest pet peeve about this film is Captain America aka Steve Rogers' ambition with the protecting Bucky Burner. I understand that the previous two Captain America films showcased the relationship between the Bucky and Steve, but I never found it to be all that compelling and believe it 7 more of the touches that time around because Steve is the turning his back on the so many people that love and with whom he shares a long strong relationship, friendship. I get that this storyline is part of the comic, but I just don't feel like that film have done this storyline justice. I really struggle with the concept of turning your back on the several of your friends for so person. I also will go on record and say that I really dislike Substation Stan and Bucky Burner, the Winter Soldier. My last and final major complaint is the film tone, which like a tone of the Marvel film in the pretty consistent, and I think the tone of the Civil War is all over the place. There are moments where the film get really dark and serious, yet other times feel and yet to be light-hearted for it on. There is always this worried combination of the dark tone and the comedy tones of the Marvel film that kind of take out of the film. I am not saying that this film should not have a blend of light and dark moment with there are not handled and ceaseless, and I would expect all this stuck in the game. Now that I go my complaint out of the well slash into the good stuff. Palipatil Vision and Elizabeth Olsen secretly, which are quickly becoming my favorite Avenger. I love that we get more development of their character in this film. I really hope that the same point and we get to Vision secretly which movie, because I would really like to dive into their blog story and get to know this character better. What is unique about these two character is that they are really unlike any of other the Avenger. I love and how much smart, sophisticated Vision is now, and I unseen the secretly which is the other power and the how she adapts them, yet they are so very powerful at the same time. The introduction of the Chadwick Batman as the titular aka Black Panther is handled flawlessly. I think Bossman has proven to the such a talented actor in his previous role and only continues to prove how talented he is in the Civil War. Batman character is really rounded and is oddly enough given to a low of block story, considering that this is not a Black Panther film. Bossman plays as the character as so much because he is so well the rounded. At first, we see T'Challa as this hot and he had seeking revenge, but as the film progresses, he becomes a more even tempered and is rather rational. I think the Bossman standard Black Panther film is going to be one of the strongest films in the three phase of the MCU. And other character introduction that I thought was handled fairly as well, the Tom Hollands and the Peter Parker, aka Spider-Man. Well, I hated that the turned and into the Malf. I will say the Holland seems like a great fit for the Peter Spider for the looks and young Andrew girlfriend and his innocent. The world of the crime fighting felt the just right. I will say that I thought Holland did to try too hard to be funny, which did result in upcoming as a bit annoying, but alerts and would be laying to it did not smile like a little kid when Spider-Man showed up during the beyond awesome airport sequences. Speaking of the airport sequence, this scene is without a doubt one of the most entertaining sequences from a comic book film in quite some time. It's so good that I truly believe it's on par the final battle scene in the Avenger. While I do think the scene should have been a bit more serious in tone, it shared the delight of the seeing all the character face off the enough to make any comic book fan screaming uncontrollable for the hours after. And the other characters such as Paul Rudd and Ant-Man and the Dana Bruce as Zemo Saver as the some other highlight. I think both these acting bring something fresh and a new the MCU, and I think that's why they stand out so much. This universe is going to become about the personality and the who steal the screen from other. We have seen too much of the Iron Man and Captain at the point that is almost like they are overheaded by other more than trusting character. I will say that the reveal that leads into the focus between Iron Man and the Captain America in the Batman equal and was the strongest. Robert Downey Jr. has been this character since the original Iron Man in 2008. All in all, I think Captain America Civil War is a great entry in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Sure, it's a big long and not everything is perfect, but a film that the take less so much in one film, it does a fairly good job at the achieving its goals. There are plenty fan of the moment we had add a lot of the character new and all get a nice amount of the screen time. I think when releasing so some comic book films each year, there is a lot hype of expectation live up to the thing, and for what it's worth, Captain America Civil War really gets the job done. Captain America Civil War Review Marvel's Fantastic Epic. The more I think about the Captain America Civil War, the more I like it, even though it is an absolutely executing film. It's draining in the same way of the running a marathon, rewarding leave you high on the endorphins and the absolutely spend not less. It's movie where the should give out the range slice at the end. There is so much to chew on, so much to admire, and so much gravitas that it advances that we have to come to expect and demanded from the superhero genre, both in terms of the themes and in terms of the sheer spectacle. Captain America Civil War is a superhero film that undermines its superheroes. It does not, and the great mark all the heroes must die hating God. Some among the like this year, other the superhero brawl, Batman via Superman Dawn of the Justice. It determined the hero and turned into the humans, and I will admire Captain America the Winter Soldier for not giving Captain America Charis even feet of the clay. Director Joe Anthony Russo have wisely moved the character forever with a more personal story that required him to be an avenge and the ground for the first time. He can no longer the rock of the Marvel universe, and this is a movie with no rock. Both Captain America and the Iron Man Robert Downey Jr. are the wrong, and yet they are both admirable, not less. Following a mission in Lagos and the accidental explosion in the final straw that cuts off the Sokovia, according to a document that would be make the Avenger supervened to a VN council, some superhero led by the Tony talk to believe that need to be kept in the check and that at cost of innocent lives has become too high. And if the answer is somebody and there are the regulations and they can be kept in the check and the people will be safer. Other superhero led by Cap believe that the safest and the hands in the still on it's the libertarian point of the view that the better is trust the individual, that a government institution offers the barricade that would have prevent the forgiving to be a good. The conflict explodes with the terrorist act gets appointed to be Cap Bucky, and the Cap makes things personally by going after his old friend to protect him, and thus putting the Sokovia, according to the test to be Avengers, get to run their own operation on that has no time for the government oversight, or do they run themselves in let and the law in the course even the law is the misguided, and there are inferior actor in the case in my mysterious helmet Zamo at work. When I was on the set last year, screenwriter Charles Forth makeups and the staff and MC failing and said that they wanted people to leave Civil War occurring about the was the right and it in the way they have to achieve that. Both sides are presented equally, and while this is the momentarily a Captain America movie, there is a strong case to be made that this is just as much as Iron Man movie, that the Downey giving a raw personal performance that the best given in a Marvel movie to date. But while you can leave the film regarding whether or not you are team Cap or the team man, you can also leaving thinking both sides are the right or both sides are wrong. And the Civil War is film that leave and breathe shades of grey, not yet by saying that morality does not exist, of that here is good or evil, but are not the conflict are so simple. Everyone in Civil War has a reason for the joining the fray, and while some reasons are stronger than other, I had thought a time believing that Hawk and was wrestles and you would risk jail than but with fame. They all make sense, and it builds to reasonable conflict. Nothing fails, and for us everything feels personal. And it's personal film that's 12 movie in the making. This could not the third film in the trilogy. It may be the third Captain America film, and it has some important thing to say about this character and what represent as an individual as its symbol. But you can get this movie without the Iron Man film and the Avenger and the everything else from the MCU. Only the Marvel could have made this movie, and the result and the tremendous it owns way. Captain America Civil War is even more impressive than the Avengers. It does not hurt that the action is absolutely bonkers. The Roshi already impressed with what they accomplished on the Winter Soldier, but they would looks like the child's play the compared to what the Civil War break out. Evilly single action scene is the flawless. It hit hard. The action is easy to follow. The cinematography is the dynamic, and everything feels powerful whether they have the superpowers or not. It's like our character is the star. They as own movie when they are you are seen. Even with this is Captain America. You see it when the Black Widow and is the bot line parking down the stairs is logos when the Black Panther is showing off its unique material and the arts. You have to seen the every shield rose from the cap, ever size shift from the Ant-Man, Paul Rudd, every web silent from the Spider-Man Tom Holland. I have to pause a bit single out the Spider-Man for being for damn and good. Yes, he has bit Superman in the movie of the sake of the including Spider-Man. He does not offer much in time of the larger theme of the movie, but it does not matter when the character is handled with this much joy and ever not to take away from the Tobey Maguire and the Andrew Garfield have done with Spider-Man. But this is the take on the character we have always wanted. It does not hold back the young man and experience. He is the how much fun you can get off of that, and the movie they pull off that is Spidey are nothing short of the spectacular. But it is hard to pick just one the amazing element of the action, why everything is so incredible. This is movie that one finally comes for the being better delivers on the war in the Civil War. It's everything you have to get from the blockbuster movie and then some. I would not spoil any of the action beats, but I feel like the Russia left nothing the table when and come to turning in the superhero against each other, and that's why the heart of the movie is so well the heroes against each other. It is not about the taking out the villain, which is evil. Civil War has no of the most brilliant played baddies of that. I wish other the Marvel movie were the smart were these antagonists of Civil War, and what movie and the war Zemo and the plane, which granted does really a little heavily on the coincidence and the luck, has a tremendous pay of which I would not spoil here hero. And here I will simply say that when his grant and plan was finally revealed, multiple people in my audience adorable and the gossip. Captain America Civil War is a tremendous feat of filmmaking. It will leave you breathless. It will make you laugh constantly. It will make you cheer. It will make you think about the position that character take, and it may pay and you at all be the hero you love. I Captain America and the degree with this choice in this film, and they only make me admire Captain America Civil War all the more. Review Captain America Civil War. It does not get much better than this, and I say that fully believing that Marvel can go even bigger, better, and more exciting. If after more than 10 movies deep into their fame slide, Marvel can still produce something as amazing as Captain America Civil War, then the future remains the bright as ever. This is the epic, spectacular, big bottom-ass superhero movie that Marvel has been building towards all these years. Movie rating 9 over 10 grade. Captain America Civil War is a glorious mix of spectacular and drama combining some of the most touching and important character work in the entire franchise with the quite possible the greatest about the superhero action to ever the grey silver screen. The centerpiece war between the heroes at the abandoned airport is worth of the price admission alone. Its worth of price of admission is every Marvel movie we have seen so far, building on almost each and every film to instill and real emotional heft and these characters and their punches. When Captain America, Iron Man and their allies faces off in Civil War, there is a real history behind it. We have seen the previous movie, we have seen the friendship and rivals growth and build and steering. We have seen the starving Rocket and Tony Stark get state in the Avengers. We have seen the friendships and revealers grow and build and strain. We have seen the staff Rogers and Tony Stark get taste in the Avengers. We have watched Black Widow and the character arc from the solidness of other movie. We have seen the Ant-Man considering calling the Avengers of help. This has been our journey. Civil War is a movie for Marvel fans, for the people who have been all their movie and probably had mini marathons to gear up this new one. It is one ahead of that focus, and it should not be. Marvel is producing a masterpiece on the scale never before the imagined, and they are pulling off it with the skill and the excitement that almost feel bad and other movie. Like, do any of the previous Spider-Man movies even matter anymore? Batman, Superman surely does not. Join me after the jump of the few review, and there will be a spoiler of the Captain America Civil War. The plot is wonderful, simply and fit perfectly with the overgoing Marvel Cinematic Universe. The comic version of the Civil War was written and published before even the first Iron Man movie has nothing, so is really kind of Marvel that it fits so as the tag of the MCU. After all the destruction in the Avenger Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and the Avenger Age of Ultron. The world wants to region in the Avenger. They want everybody to agree to United Nations supervision where the authority will oversee the superhero. Iron Man, who has been slowly slipping into the PTSD, realities and the sign on the doorway and the line, but Captain America is not about to let the some bureaucrat decide and where when get to the people and save the world. It's the movie credit the both heroes come of the and believes and the underneath of all the politics, the violence, Zambo fans, the Winter Soldier for the internationally indecent and sending the brain waste Bucky on the run, believing in the goodness of his old friend, and Captain America goes rough to try and save him and the proves innocence and the while Iron Man falls in the with the proper authorities to try and arrest the suspected assassins. All over the favorite is heroes with a few very notable with addition and fall in line or the either side, and we get treated a movie for the ages. The performances are the top notch in the film, and the Charles Avenge continue to make the Captain America the heart of the Marvel movie, easily holding the spotlight separately from the Robert Downey Jr. and the Iron Man. Who could have the guessed that the Captain America trilogy would be better regarded than the Iron Man trilogy, but kept remain pure and the awesome a hero through and through. Even when the conventional wisdom and suggests the maybe arresting the Bucky would not such a bad idea, you still the cannot be side with the gap and the power of the friendship. Not that the Tony Stark gets the shot of the stake downs, gets the really emotion in the film, a lot of the plot and the twist really hit home for him, whereas even it just has to be filmed and heroic. Donnie really gets through the sink into the mortal. He is definitely the co-star. Substance star as a Bucky is a little underplayed, but it makes sense of the character who has been thrown and his share of the brain versus the character in series and the trouble. Sympathetic when the did not evil thing. I firmly believed in the Cap and the Bucky friendship by the end, and anyone else is pretty great too. Directed Anthony and the Russo give everyone enough screen and time and dialogue that nobody gets lost in the shuffle because and Black Widow, Falcon, the Martian, Vision, Hawken and all the rest are fully fresh, and the people in the movie there are not just action figure or pawns. Elizabeth Olsen and the Oscar and we get a surprising amount of the focus, really feeling her and the character beyond her age of the Ultron debut, and the Paul Rudd and the man is personal favorite is character of mine, and his comedy does not disappoint in the slightest, and he is hilarious. Of course, his biggest additional in the cast of the Thomas Holland and the Marvel Spider-Man, very different for the Sony Spider-Man and the Chadwick Boseman as a Black Panther. The former is mostly a comedy, but it is one hell of the comedy. Holland immediately embodies of the role of the nervous geeky Peter back in the ways that have not seen before the big screen. Despite 5 exciting Spider-Man movie, he is simply amazing. There is funny, he is friendly, he is heartwarming, he is Kobe, he is going to the movie and the look. I am pretty sure I said the same thing that the Amazing Spider-Man movie first came out, and but it is now the definitive movie. Spider-Man Holland is the stunning in the role, and the Bossman proves the Black Panther diverse is own upcoming solo movie. Panther is a big player than the Spider-Man is Civil War, and the get his own the fulfilling and interesting story arc. I rather enjoy the journey in the movie, and he has great in the action. If you were not excited for this solo film before, you will be after Civil War. And Daniel Barolo gets the thankless job of the playing the movie villains Zambo. He does a fine job as Zambo's story is soldier enough to justify his inclusion, but Civil War is not about the bad guy, and I am perfectly okay with that. Some people might complain that Marvel still has a violent problem, but I would argue that the Marvel movie have never been about the violence. Why should they able? And I can remember back in the 90s when the crappy Batman movie were the only superhero film in the town, and the big name actor bought in the play the new villains, and always a big deal. Jim Carrey as a Ryder Aron and the Schwarzenegger as the Mr. Freeze, but that's only because the Batman of the film was a bore. That was definitely not only the case. Modern Marvel movie, the heroes are the start of the show, and the heroes provide more than enough entertainment for me. And what need the great villains? You have to got outstanding heroes, especially when you movie like Civil War movies, so many amazing stories to work that, and the character are great, the story is great, the emotional beat are great, the movie is great. But I would be remiss if it did not throw is the extra wood about that big. spectacular fight scene at the airport. We have all seen hints of this trailer, but those glimpses do not the battle justice. It just keep going and the just keep getting better and better. And when you think over these something new and ever more amazing, it does huge giddy spectacle of the superhero action, and every character gets a moment to shine. Spider-Man, Ant-Man, Iron Man, Captain America, Secret Witch, Hulk, Black Widow, the list goes on, and every character is used. Every character is someone superpowers and quiets and one lines fly will nearly delighting audience and character alike. This scene is the highlight of the not just Captain America Civil War but the entire Marvel cinematic universe. Every second was thriller. I cannot wait to see the Civil War again and to see what Marvel does next. Captain America Civil War 2016 Mini Review. The Analytic Critic. Though The Age of Ultron was a solid Avenger film, it had its fair share of the flaws. Captain America Civil War is essentially the third Avengers film in the disguise, yet it features a couple of the major positive change. It the focus and the full of strong character development for its three central characters as well as its two supporting ones. This is definitely one of the MCU best movie house. So let's take a look. Writing. After the disaster that took place on the Sokovia, the United Nations has decided to have the Avengers sign the according and lose control over their internationally superhero business. Basically, it makes sure that the Avengers are the property of the government, restricting their mission to one approved by the UN. And while many Avengers are willing to sign away their the autonomy and other they are not ahead of those the favor security is Tony Stark. While the Safe Roger Command and the group is a favorite of freedom, as a result, a violent chase ensures one that threatens to tear that Avenger apart forever. The plot is actually more complex, and there's not much that the window is being converted despite featuring a multiplication of the characters. Civil War is an incredible focus the narrative. This is because the film basically chooses to center on the particular character, the Winter Soldier, Captain America, and the Iron Man. The pieces break, yet there is a several character moments that are key to illustration the main theme, and the choice of the security over freedom is made by many Avengers, and one that highlights the danger of giving is fear. And ultimately, Civil War is very much a Captain America with a lot of Avengers sprinkled into a lot of the fun and diverse roster. New of the Avengers is a Black Panther who actually gets enough screaming for off all the subplot and the character arc. This is the counter is solo film, and which I will getting too soon enough. My only issue with the script is that the humor does not land that often. Marvel really need to the leave and when to how to implicate comedy relief. Cast. Stephen Rogan and Tony Stark are played by Charlie Sivan and the Robert Downey Jr. and respectively. Even the Fantastic, which is more naturally method of acting, while the RDG is the equally awesome with his theatrical. The two also have an interesting chemistry that complex the viewer or participate in the conflict and choose a side. The Winter Soldier is played by the sustained Stan, who believable seems torn apart by his past with the Hydra and the friendship with the Roger Staven in the excellent, just like the Even and RDJ. There are way too many sides character played by the solid actor to the mention just now that the majority of them all well cast. I will focus on the couple of the standards, and the Chadwick and Bossman of Black Panther and the Thornton Mackie as a Falcon demonstrate superhero acting tropes and the constitution that most of the cast period and they are just good that. Captain America Civil War Review. This review takes a spoiler-free look at the Captain America Civil War, the latest film in the what seemed like a never-ending stream of superhero film. While this never-ending comment could be constructed as a joke when it comes the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Disney and the Marvel have done an excellent job structuring the MCU, creating action-packed film with the heart and the humor and even different genres, all of which has helped prevent superhero fighting, and Civil War is no expectation. Despite my underable and the knees something and that never extend to some typically interest. Rather than the reading superhero comic and watching Lord of the Rings in the high school, I was reading Civiline and Hobbes and collecting Citrion collection DVDs that probably dorky more than the geek we had the splitting here. Point being, my family with the character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe extend only the film in the which the character appear. I have no knowledge of the underlying conflict in the comic upon which Civil War is based. The lack of the familiarities made be a bit impressive that the premise, which the little more than a pretext for the under superhero through the dawn. Unfortunately, those fears the unfortunate, and this film is with the other MCU and TARS is more about the storytelling than it is action. As someone with geeky propensities, I have really enjoyed how Marvel has built this universe and used the film to engage in a sort of long-form storytelling. As Guinness has gone mainstream, it would appear the generic public course. The Avengers was the first film that really converged the characters' separate story, and it did the gangbuster at the box office. While the Avengers demonstrated the potential of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Captain America Civil executed and delivered on the promise. It's a good stand-up and stand-alone film, but an expectational culmination of the story and the character that have been developed in the film that the proceeded. There is a lot love about the Civil War, but it is not without the flaws. I will get those out of the way first. The biggest disappointed for me in the whole little attention it gives some of the character beyond Captain America and Iron Man. Perhaps it because there are simply so many other characters, but it felt like there were a few that did not get a satisfying amount of one-screen attention. Hawk, in the particular, seems the super flaws and the expectable to the story. This is exemplified the Sokovia Accords for character not present during the initial roundtable as a spot-linked player choose side without the exposition, and their decision can seem the arbitrary result and particular themes, and here are overt, not merely inferred subtext, or it would be nice if the character had the motivates and beyond Iron Man asked first. In some cases, a great understanding of the MCU provide insight to the way, and but for a couple of characters, that's not the case of all. In these were on ordinarily superhero fans, the criticisms could be considered as anti-peaking. However, the Marvel has redefined the concept. The result is film that over the thought-provoking story and the themes to accompany the gripping blockbuster action sequences judge, and through the premise I expect a bit more development of the central conflict over the Sokovia Accords before the action in the second and third act kicked in the high gear. I think this is an appropriate and the expectation because as was the Captain America, the Winter Soldier is an intelligent film with lofty ideas and the ideas. When it comes to Captain America and Iron Man, the greatest conflicts are not physical as the conflict related to this character it built rather without explicit and conversation of the Accords, and neither side is wrong or right. Iron Man and the Captain America are following their respective moral compasses, each conflict with their choices and each show the emotional vulnerability they are also both make suspect decisions as a result of those emotions. All of this is definitely conveyed in the film, and Civil War gives a new depth to the both Captain America and the Iron Man. This is what makes their conflict so gripping when it's split over into the action sequences. There is actually emotion terminally at play, does not feel like a solo and the gratitude superhero and the superhero action. This emotional conflict also adds an element of the unpredictable to some of the action sequences that would otherwise lack it. Although this is a Captain America movie, it felt this was the far allegation of the Iron Man position that the Captain America. Moreover, it anyone carries this impressive ensemble. I had say it Iron Man, not Captain America. Clearly, Cap is worrying about the interest in the steadfast position to the Sokovia Accords and other action in the film, and an audience you are supposed to trust in him because he is there, the Avenger moral beacon. I did not feel the really effort by the complaining justification, but maybe that's okay. This saying the grace, this is how the character has been developed in the period movie. This is a great adventure of the long-term nature of the movie, and the filmmaker can replay and upon the audience goodwill towards the character and the trust in the because is the inflict have always inevitable him in the past. In that there is also a real vindication of the long-term storytelling in the Marvel Cinematic Universe has built the sense Iron Man, as mentioned as Civil War, as a stand-alone film is a field that who has been the other MCU film will get so much more about of not just in terms of understanding through way north of the character or event, but is understanding how everything else has the built toward, and I make you feel more vested in the story and character as a viewer, and it enable a filmmaker to tell the story here is understand 6 hours. It does be yours and you to to see the other film in the MCU before a viewing of the Civil War unless you are living off the grid in the some isolated desert commune. You have probably seen at the least a couple of these films and you are in the isolated commune. You probably did not have electricity and thus cannot read these anyway. I'm not saying you should sit down for a marathon review of the zone or so film that comes before it by viewing the two previous Captain America film Iron Man 3 and the Avenger Age of the Ultron. We certainly have to talk only the boring this film ideology themes and the story would have the Civil War a great justice as a great of the movie as this is it's all great and summer blockbuster. There are three scenes in the particularly they are to stand out and one of these is the best I can recall from many Marvel which is quite impressive considering the nature of the scene. Not much more need to said about the action satisfied to is phenomenal. Ultimately, Civil War executed because it managed to do so many difficult things so well, even by the bloated cast of the character. And while judging all of the stories that came before it, I think is the fighters a bit as political thriller, but the drama Homer hears hopping at Ant-Man gets more screen time in the Infinite War, and the action are expectational, making for one of the best blockbuster film in the recent movie. Perhaps the most exciting thing about the Civil War is where it leaves the story early in the viewers. I call this film is the expectational salmination. The thing is so much as the film is weaving together elements that have been developed before it's something of the considerance. There is also a sense that is the beginning of a serious awesome chapter or phase I suppose in the Marvel cinematic universe. The downstairs in the VR for a bit wait until they happen in 2018 for update this account discount information a free download for more money saving tip for Walt Disney World book and the much more. Sign up for the free monthly newsletter. If you enjoyed this post we are really appreciate if you had to share it via social media to help the chapter the world. We put a lot of work into the making this site a helpful planning resource and hopes that is useful too. Your thoughts. Have you seen Captain America Civil War? Which Marvel Cinematic Universe films have you favorite? Do you like the universe concept too for movie? We love hearing from readers, so please your share you take place on the spots in the comments. Review Captain America Civil War 2016. Last month, I was severely disappointed with the meeting of two comic book titans on the screen. Batman vs Superman shot big but the missed, with the film trailer pointing to a rich psychological and the debate between the Broco and Clara culminating in what could have been the battle royal of all things geekdom. Instead, the film was a mess, one failing at the heavy task on the world building multiple franchise for the Warner Bros. While trying to build a cornet and a narrative worth of the timeless heroes. I don't want to make this review a comparison piece because I am sure you will find many of those on the internet, formally written as article or the subscribed on the random comment thread. However, this is insistent and the bring up to BVS is no accident, and nor it is unfair to draw a comparison as one of the time both films were the test to open the same day. I am glad to they did not release has given me time to release all the things that could have gone wrong with the Captain America Civil War, and I am glad to say that it took look like to escape such things. Wow, that was a fantastic film. Overall, the two movies deal with the similar theme, a philosophical and emphasis between the heroes, each being the manipulated by the circumstances, agents, and the gut feeling. It's the potentially powerful material, and with the vast histories of the DS and the Marvel universe, even with the both the film were almost especially market adaptations of the popular story arc DS comic The Dark Knight and the Return and the Marvel Civil War. Each war film plotted is on the course. I believe it was the worst cause of the boss still, as I alluded to, by the corrupt and the under too many politicians and the unconventional takes on long established character, and the burden of the establishing so many new films stemming from its Civil War does not. I should say this early on Civil War is not Avenger 2.5, but it is the at heart of the film and the fight Cap and the Bucky, even though the arguable in the made a better Avenger film than the Avenger Age of Ultron. We know this guilt of the Bucky death is the Captain America the first Avenger almost stopped him from the being hero and the guilt and over the back and had become in the Captain America the Winter Soldier worried on him as well. Still in this film we see the friend who would not give up on another even when all given against them. The war between the loyalties, yes, it strategies between all the heroes featured in the film, but all the center we see Cap choose his belief in the Bucky even of the Tony Stark. I would be remiss to say that the our golden boy does not keep his shine throughout the film. I felt the really perhaps shift it may in my the own allegiance of all who has played in the film when all is known in the end. My take away from it all in the effort to avoid the spoiler in that the relationship are messy, and when there is a competition for the loyalty, someone will lose out, even the especially when you do our best not hurt them, but it have a ripping effect throughout our lives. Just like the Avenger Age of Ultron, we get another just setting adventure. I lost count of how many times and a city or country was the plasticity across the screen, signaling and the transition in location, but we go all over there. Still, I did not even feel lost. The plot and the moved along at a pace that never slowed, and even after a 147-minute runtime, I was not looking for it. And the crowd phrasing is not always said as a compliment in all our circles, but here I can share that the theater I was in, the carriage and the lot and the odd throughout, there are the some great surprises. The general audiences within this film, but nothing that the comic puff could not coming. While I could go into the lengthy discussion of all the character and their loyalties, I will try to brief in what need to be said. Someone would not get mentioned much in many reviews, but with the broad the good was the William Hart returning as the Thaddeus Rose, now the secret of the state. Seeing them without the hug and near the much mention of them and all was the little strange, but I have always respected Hart as an actor, and he did not disappoint here and acting out the face the cyclist for the dealing with the heroes recurring recollecting damage through the Sokovia According a globe response in which she aimed the keeping the heroes on the call in the chuck by the world governments. The legislation in the brought about the alongside news of the terrorism incident implicated Bucky Banner, also known as the former Soviet assassin, the Winter Soldier, all of the together unsettled Captain America and Strahan is arrested several of all in behind for the various reasons. Through the preceding Marvel films, we have seen these heroes witness and corrupted shield organization, and they feel reason to defy the directive if anything as but this idea of the predecessors alone. On the other side, we have seen Iron Man who feels the guilt of the damage, and the other half scared and falling in the line. Among the other behind him, we have two new heroes, Black Panther and Spider-Man. Black Panther played by the Chadwick Boseman, and the probably my favorite aspect of the film, his power, presence, and the sense of debut and the incredible. From his history arc, we get a powerful lesson on the seeking justified before the vigilance, merciful in ways, but just a resolute relationship can offer bring and hearts into the odd lives, and the saying his story and spoke the most powerful lesson in the film to me. And the Spider-Man, on the other hand, was just pure gilly. He is absolutely incredible to see the alongside all the characters we have known in the Marvel cinematic universe, and the adolescent and the nature brought and the wonderfully and Tom Holland and made him feel unique as the played with the adult. I cannot wait to see more from the both character moving forever. Civil War never felt beholden to world building of establishing the many films that will be following. However, it did feel richly constructing upon many films made by prior, which is more than great. One could argue that much of the movie going public is spending time in gross is the multi-season storylines we are streaming on Netflix and Amazing Prime to railing upon what come before is not the proper is could have been in the years pieced the other properties. Don't expect hand-holding as an audience here. You will go from the scenes featuring a multi-colored plotting android to man who can the change in size at will. It shows the expectation you have seen all the film that the preceded if you have did, and I believe you too witnessing something especially in the entertainment landscape, realizing blockbuster and the character can drop in out of the narrative with little thought against by it the audience. I am excited for all that is possible now in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and the film just proves that the quality has not quite yet Captain America Civil War. The bad news is there are about the 10 movies going on its Captain America Civil War, which is at the last 7 too many. The good news is most of them are fun and there are enough rousing moments to elevate the movie to Marvel top tier. Although Thor, the Hulk and the other recurring characters have gone missing, this time with the somewhat vague explanation for the absence. Nobody is going to mistake the Civil War for a chamber piece. Trailer sold this installment as a tale of the intra-Avenger warfare and the set of the government demand the Captain America cherish Avenger allow the rest of his old friend, the Winter Soldier, okay, Bucky Banner, sustains stand as the assassins whose moral compass has been scampered by brainwashing and was being punished for his previous role in the terrorist act, and it is what and but only some of the time. There are more than a dozen major characters and another dozen minor ones, including Black Panther, Chadwick Batman and the Spider-Man Tom Holland, and the running flanks, some potting and the blasting through a long lumpy story inspired by the 2006 Civil War graphic novel arc. Dramatically, it plucked the like Avenger, the Age of the Ultron, Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and the Iron Man 3. Civil War is stimulated about the ramification of the US intervention in the post 9/11 world, the responsibilities of the private military constructor, which is basically that Avengers are here to defer the government and the United Nations. The question of the whether civilization concludes and the negative readiness of a noble mission, the law and the price of the vagueness, and individuals going never franchise struggle to understand how their past drive their present tense. Actually, several character conflict that they are act from the completion and then find ways to rationalize it. There is a fair bit of the Dark Knight logic to the storytelling character to do think of the character because they are it will be set of the chain reaction that will eventually lead to ever especially moment at the end. Luckily for them, and each stop goes according to the plan because it did not, there would be no movie and is the inferior yet thematically similar. Batman v Superman Dawn of the Justice, the hero versus hero slugfest only seemed to be string for the real and deep philosophical and the difference. It turns out that the real problem is that these characters don't talk to each other when they should. All that said, this is a satisfying film that take its character but not the itself seriously, and the mixed sequences of wonder, visual wit and pathos in both the world building and the dramatic housekeeping, returning the creative team of the director Joy and the Anthony Russo and the screenwriter Christopher Jacobs and the Stephen M.C. Feely. Civil War gets better. It goes along both as an action movie and the sparring ensemble. I have seen reviewing complaining that the one character get enough screen time, but to me the description felt just about right. We know a lot about the established character by now. There is not much this film need to say about the Peter Park, except that he is lovable wise as a spider teen who lives with his aunt May, 51-year-old the Marcia Tommy, looking for more like the Aunt February, and has only been slinging web for the 6 months. Nor does this story require much of the Aunt Man Paul wrote, but that the act of strucker by the Tony and the Cap and the gang and the try too hard. Black Panther Eka Tichla, subject of an upcoming Ryan Coogler solo movie, is defined by his righteous anger over the injustice perpetrated against the family and his nation, and that's exactly where the character need to be for this film. And the action solid is sometimes inspired the best spectacles in the Winter Soldier, Cap taking over the bunch of the best assassins in the Evaluator had a frozen and the smallness that much more exciting with watching helicarriers crash and the moment crumble. It seems to be have inspired by the better action sense. Here not just a stairwell punch. First the finds Bucky swinging from a top and the touch of the ringing like the Tarzan on the wine, but is a bigger loader, while the clash between the Avengers, including the emergency ringing Spider-Man, Ant-Man and the Black Panther on the airport runway, although the clash is handled which was the crazy action still looks beauty the personality a problem throughout the Marvel filmography, and which has the simple line quality. It's clean and exact. It makes the clever use of the version hero's power. It most the comedic than the version Buster Cotton and the Steven Spielberg and the clear influence, and it leaves to doubt about the characters, angels and the method of attack, whether than it is a relation to one another words that take. The script never convincingly suppressed, and this film the version of the Cap as a guy who is willing to eat along the government forces led by the William Hart Thaddeus and the Thunderbolts, and who want to regulate superheroic inventions, which the Captain America of the Winter Soldier, who decided to rather against his own government, and that allowed one of the highest ranking military official to order extrajudicial and the assassination. We may not be perfect, but the safety hands and the steel over and gap it as Tony and sentiment the could easily have in place in the mouth of Robert Redford Winter Soldier's character Alexander Price. It will be kept in the hypocrite and who thinking the Valentines in the okay and you has the Valengy and would have be a soldier point of anyone in this movie raised. It seemed to be that Iron Man, industrial Tony Stark, Robert Downey Jr. and with his copied capitalist inclination would be the more likely candidate to scope the position Cap impressed here. And Truckside is troubled by seeing Cap the Falcon and the Tony Mackie and the secret with Elizabeth Olsen and the Black Widow cause innocent Wakanda and relief worker to die while trying to stop the highest of biology weapons in the Logos Negria, and the genial shamed by an encounter with a State Department employee after the Woodard and which come the refresh during the final battle in the Age of the Ultron. Still the philosophical position of the Cap in the relationship Tony feels as a bit knowing over the world I bit worked better on the page, but the Russo deafing switch between the splitted and the molded drama and the surprisingly outcome of okay storylines and the strength of the central performances go a long way toward the overcoming nitpicking. Much has been written about the DS family fashionable decking of the Superman, but the laws of the big blue boy sword does not sing by much. It would be